Hello, friends. I am Dr. Narotam Dewan, and it struck my mind that from a long time I was thinking that I should recall my memories and put these on record because of their value as an entertainment. It's a story and some educational value. So the first thing that came to my mind, because the mind always works, was when I joined my medical college. That was in April 1974. I was born on 11th July 1956, and I got into medical college. This was a very pleasant thing for me. It was a dream come true because my mother, who was daughter of a doctor who had studied MRCP from Edinburgh University, Dr. Jeevan Maleri, member Royal College of Physicians. And she was his daughter. And so she had a desire that her son should become a doctor. And her desire was that should become a good doctor. My grandfather also used to sometimes say that, okay, one should be a good person who should be able to help people. And this is what my mother said. You should be a good, well read doctor who should be able to help people. And this is a good thing. And so getting into a medical college was not only fulfilling my dream, which has become my subconscious trait, it was fulfilling the desire of my mother, who had expired by that time. About 2 years back, she had died during the surgery for cancer of the breast, which had spread to the chest and esophagus, and she had esophageal obstruction. And in Christian Medical College and Hospital, one Dr. Gill, when he was attempting to do esophageal bypass surgery with colonic bypass, she had expired. And before that, on the night before surgery, she had said, I was the only one who had been there at night with her. My father had gone home. So she was chatting with me. She was looking very uh, good and in good spirits. And she said, I've told the surgeon that he should do the surgery finally. Either it should be all right or I should maybe go. And that is what happened. So, anyhow, the topic of my today's video uploading is that my first few days in the medical college. So I had heard that there will be dead bodies and we would have to dissect them. And I had heard things like that, that ghosts of those dead bodies, they also come up at night. And so my father, sensing that my mother is not there and maybe I may have some psychological stress due to the loss of my mother, to whom I was very deeply attached, and getting into staying at a medical college alone. So he had come to drop me there, and he told me to have confidence and not to go to the dissection hall or other things at night because sometimes people do jokes, and this I found out was true, that once a medical student was taken to a dissection hall by friends, and one of the friends has lied down like a body there, removing his clothes and all. So then we went, he suddenly stood up at night in the dark and making, uh, things like that, as if he's a ghost. And the person, the fresh medical student, had a heart attack and died. So, being aware of such things make you prepared for such circumstances. So, well, it was anatomy, and at that time, 1.5 year was for anatomy and physiology, the basic sciences of the structures of the body and functions of various systems of the body. So, in anatomy, to learn these practically was the dissection, actual dissection on the dead bodies. And it was a government medical college, and there was 150 students plus backlog of about 10 students who were failures. So 160 students. So there were about 20 to 30, I don't remember the exact number, dead bodies there, which was on the benches. And there were stools around that where we had to sit after the introductory classes, and there was museum of the various important structures which were displayed in the jars of formalin, and the details was written, because this was the normal study of the normal body. Anatomy is study of the normal body, because abnormality is pathology, that is separate museum. So we were studying the normal structure of the body. This is a great privilege, you see. There was time when the science developed that dead bodies were not allowed. In, say, Hinduism, they were burnt, and it was not considered good to take these away and dissect as a disrespect to the person or against religion. Even in Europe and Christian religion, it was not allowed to dug up the body or dissect the dead. In the beginning, the doctors and other people, they did this development of anatomy took place by stealing the bodies from the graveyard or some ancient Indian structures. They also used to do these things to study the body a bit. But basic structures in the initial period, they started by some people will go to the graveyard, dig up bodies, and deadly, study the structure. Anyhow, so this was some grim situations like that. So one was that the first time when I went and sat with the body, which had the pungent smell of the formalin, because what they used to do is, what were the bodies? They were not donated bodies. They were the bodies which were unclaimed, like some laborers or other people had come from far off places and they die due to accidents or illness. And they are poor, and their families from hundreds of kilometers do not come. At that time in 74, the communication was not that very good. There were letters and telephone. At long distance, telephones were not that easy, and letters will also take time, and people will have less money. The way to travel, where that person is available, where that person has died, whether that person was able to communicate about the disease or accident to their families back home, were all problems. So many bodies would lie unclaimed. And, out of inquisitiveness, I will not say bravery, because that picture still lies in my mind. I went to the room all alone where the bodies, unclaimed bodies, were brought down, because I want you to know how to preserve them, how they preserve them. So what they were doing was, they were bringing freshly dead bodies and they were infusing formalin in them. And I saw that, I remember one lady and one middle-aged person's dead body lying haphazardly on that floor, and with the, ill people like that, some died of some illness or accident, and with clothes all shattered. So that was a very, uh, very impact, a big impact on my mind of the, the people who had died and their bodies were okay, being utilized for a good cause, for the sake of educating the future doctors. But they had died in an undignified way. The God had willed that their bodies be utilized for a good purpose, and that will was there. But they had not had their last rites, last respects, and they were not being treated very well there. There was no prayer for them, and they were just being infused and being used as instruments for teaching. Their bodies then brought to the table where now we were sitting. And the first day I had anorexia, means loss of appetite and some nausea, and I couldn't eat well for say few days. But remember that as the time passed, now these are the first few days. Now I'm going beyond the first few days. As the time passed, these things, the tolerance developed towards that pungent smell and towards that cutting of their facial muscles, taking out the arteries and nerves and glands and lips and tongue and ears and in the thyroid and larynx and trachea and everything, hand muscles and all, kidneys and all, back muscles. Slowly, slowly, we'll take one portion: upper limb, head and neck, thorax, abdomen, and lower limbs. So one by one, there is Cunningham's anatomy dissector books. So in this, there's chapters. You go from the skin onwards. One by one, there is the direction. A system is there to dissect and learn. So we were following that Cunningham's books of dissection, in which we were going step by step and doing those dissection, and tolerance developed, and it developed to the extent that we were bringing eatables in our pockets, biscuits, chocolates, or some other nuts, and even without washing hands, because this was our formalin had sterilized the bodies. Everybody was eating. When feeling hungry, eat a bit of chocolates or nuts. And there were not much facilities sometimes to go and wash your hands, or it will be at a distance. So, like that. So, that was that the beginning of that was that a difficult beginning of starting to dissect body. Physiology was not like that. Physiology, yes, which I was already used to, because in my pre-medical college, also in pre-medical, what you say in RA college, when we were studying the anatomy in the frogs. So what they will do is that they will bring the frogs and put it in a bucket and put ether in that, and all the frogs will get anesthetized and unconscious, and then we will dissect them up. But here in the medical college, for physiological experiments of muscles or heart, on living heart and muscles, to infuse the saline and let us see the muscle power, to uh, do the experiment on muscle power on the living muscle of a frog. That thing was not done. The patient frog was not made unconscious. There was system of pithing. For example, this was the frog, and say this is the head. So the head was caught, and with the poking needle of the live frog, we were supposed to pith it, put the through the neck, introduce the pith into the brain through the foramen magnum, and the frog will naturally be killed. But his hind system will keep working, means the cerebrum and cerebellum will go, but the his medulla oblongata and spinal cord, the hind system will keep working. So the heart, etc., will keep working like a headless chicken. So we will be able to do the experiments. That was also, hurting to the mind. It was not a willing act to do something to an animal which was harmless animal, a beautiful animals, swimming in the water. I've been watching the toads and Arana tergina frogs jumping into water, playing, copulating, and swimming. I used to enjoy that, and their voice trrr, 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 in ponds. There used to be a lot of ponds with the lotus flowers and fish and all in our city. Now they are gone. Anyhow, so this was another problem. The Third thing was in the beginning was the ragging. In India, I don't know about the rest of the world. Still, it is a bit persistent. Now it has been made illegal and severe punishment is given. So, ragging means they say hardening of the new entrant to the medical college or professional colleges or wherever. Like in army or air force, a pilot is made hardened, by abusing them, beating them. So by that way means that they become more resistant and tolerant to the things. So actually it was meant for that thing, an introduction to the old students, which was supposed to help them and guide them. But it attained an ugly shape that a bad ragging was done. I was by and large saved from that ragging because a hostel was not allotted to me. And I had to stay outside. Outside, I stayed with the one person, Satpal Tandon's home, Dr. Satpal Tandon. He was a very nice person. He was doing practice of basically TB patients because I first went to his home. My dad took me there. He was friend of my father's friend. And my father's friend, Mr. Balraj Burma, who is running a big hosiery, was running very big hosiery, York hosiery, at that time at Ludhiana. He was a very good friend of my father. And Satpal Tandon was friend of Mr. Balraj Burma. And they were friends because of a link that Mr. Balraj Burma of York hosiery, there were a lot of knitwear export going to Russia from Ludhiana. It's a knitwear town, hosiery town. And he was exporting to Russia. And Satpal Tandon was very active. He was not a communist, but he was very much active in Indo-Soviet Friendship Society. There was a big society active at that time. And he was the president of that, of Punjab or something, and he's very active that. His son also studied from Russia, free of cost, medical sciences and all, and he'd been to Russia many times. So that connection, because my father was a staunch congressman, and but he had links with everyone. So but he, so through that he put me into his home because as a child he didn't want me to stay outside on a rented place, and he was a nice place, so I stayed at that place. And I had some guts with me, my father being an advocate and being a legislature of the parliamentary party of the MLA, member of the Legislators Assembly, of Punjab. So then I will not stay in the hostel. So I'll tell you the story of what happened to the hostel staying people. But my story of ragging was that outside I will take my breakfast with Dr. Satpal Tandon's home and dinner at their time. But lunch I will take at a roadside eating place called Gyani Ji Ka Taba outside the medical college. And there they will find out that that person is a fresh entrant and a new student of the medical college. And about say 5 6 times, 2 3 people, sometimes 5 6 people came. Are you a fresher? I said, yes, I am. Okay. Have your ragging been done? I said, it is maybe not possible because I don't like this business of ragging. I said, how dare you say that? I said, say, I'm saying that. So, but if we 5 10 people start ragging you, what will you? I said, I'll do whatever is can. Don't think of numbers. I can also get numbers. So most of the time they will go away or they will speak something bad, bad, bad and go away. Only thing you had not to be scared of them and you have to confront them eyes to eyes. Okay, man, I don't like ragging. Only that I think one ragging act took place with me when we was shifting from anatomy lecture theater to physiology lecture theater for next lecture. And so whole of the class they started asking, in the seniors came in the way and starting asking somebody to do something, do something, do something, which was not much. So they told me, okay, you remove your upper clothes. I said, no, I will not do that. So that then what will you do? I said, Don't ask me such things. He said, okay, you do something. Okay, you put your specs like this, ulta like that. You know, so I put my specs ulta like that one. That's the only thing ragging which took place with me. And that was the end of it. I told them, never ask me again to do anything else. And they remained silent and they agreed. But they did very bad ragging of the students which were caught in the hostel at that time. Administration and legal action was not being taken against those who were ragging badly. And I tell you, the ragging was so bad, and they will, the femur bone, has this bent type of thing. There is a head of femur, then there is a bent type of thing, and then it is straight because it fits into the hip. They'll make them sit on the femur head for hours, or they will make them open their pants and make them sit on papers with ink. At that time, there was ink available. Now there is no ink. Now the ink and water ink system is finished because we have ballpoint pens and other things, and now the paperless things are coming. So they will take their bottom prints, and such ragging, keep standing, keep being naked. And the worst was the ragging, which the mass ragging that they did was to those people who were standing in the hostel, took them in the, there was a big, park outside the girls' hostel. It was meant for games where I played volleyball and did jogging later on when I started staying in the hostel. And there were parallel bars in the big ground. So they took them all to that ground in the evening or so. I don't know the exact time they took, and made them strip and made them run 3 times here like that. And that exposed some real problems of one of our class fellows who has unfortunately expired. I will not take the full name. AJ, he was distantly related to me too, through my other relatives, further relatives, further relatives. And they found out during that time that he had very small sex organ, and it became popular like that. So this was a type of ragging. Now it is banned and very little takes place. So this, the other thing was that the first few days it was very pleasant there. It was an old building, British style of building, made with huge thick walls and lot of garden space and open space. And the lecture theaters and the section hall were big and spacious. So it was airy, and it was because of big thick walls at that time. There was no concrete used in those walls. The thick mortar and bricks of around, I think, 13 inches to 24 inches thick walls. There was wall to wall weight carriage in the wall, was wall to wall. So it was a two-story building, but they used to make it in such a way that it looked dignified with tall rooms. Now the heights of rooms is kept at 8 feet, 10 feet, but that was around 15 feet high, 20 feet high, thick walls, and good ventilation, good sunlight, and bench system. And the teachers were very dedicated. That thing that impressed me, that teachers were very much interested. That distractions were less, not only to the students, but also to the teachers. Because these days the distractions are too many. There is WhatsApp, there is Facebook, there is YouTube, where it is your choice to see what you want to see. There is kids channel, and there is adults channel, and there is music channel and dance channel, and there is educational channel and spiritual channel. Choice is yours. Choice is yours. At that time, there were no mobiles. And so the telephone was that dialing system telephone. Dial number 6, number 3, number 4. And you had to have a landline. And if I had to talk to my dad, I had to go to the telephone exchange and book a call. That is called trunk call. That will take around 3, 4 hours of waiting. Then they will connect me to that, and only they will allow to talk for 3 minutes. Otherwise, they will start charging very high. So distractions were less. Only thing was the movies. So in Patiala, because I was staying at a home which was by the side of the Baradari. That is, Dari means doors, Dar, door, something similar, Dar. That has a garden made by the king of Patiala, Maharaja Patiala, which had 12 doors and lot of trees of various types, ornamental trees, flowering plants, shrubs, fruit trees. So, and there was that Mall Road, which was again very much, there was old type of buildings were there. And the medical college itself was beautiful, and I loved nature. So it was a good experience as per the Patiala, still not industrialized. The water was pure, the air was pure. At that time, much more pure. The traffic was less because now the automobile traffic has increased, which has caused increased the pollution. So this was very clean air, clean water, green and clean, like you can say in many European countries you will find clean and green. So it was like that, and good palatial buildings, palatial gardens. Then the teachers which I was talking were, they were dedicated teachers. They had that ego and interest. Ego means that yes, we are the teachers. Ego is good sometimes. Yes, yes, we have to teach them. We are teaching them, and they will prepare well. 90% will prepare very well, talk very well. They will give respect. And you remember that I went to a medical bookshop. There was one Fool Chowk. Fool Theatre was a cinema theatre, so it was called Fool Chowk. By the side of that, I forgot the name of the shop. There was a medical bookshop. So I went there to purchase Stedman's medical dictionary. And one of the teachers came there and took my name. Okay, Narotam, you are purchasing this dictionary. Very good. I said, sir, how do you, how are you able to recall my name? I know that you don't take numbers for our roll call. Some teachers will take roll call. Roll number one, two, three. We will say, yes, sir, yes, sir. Some people will not come. Some other person will say, yes, sir. And that person will not see up. But that teacher was taking names in the, okay, from the register, he will say, okay, Narotam. So then he will see, okay, sitting. And so he said, see, there is one thing is that I take roll call by the names. Second thing, I had a friend by the same name. So I learned a system to remember something. You correlate it with something. He not only impressed me, he taught me a system that how do can we remember things by correlating with some. So these things was that the I was missing the food, home food, and home it was into a new environment, but there was enthusiasm and hope in the air in my mind that yes, now I have got into the train where which will take me to become a doctor, where I will be able to fulfill my desire of serving the people who really need help, who are ill and suffering due to some diseases. I have my teacher at my home, Shivnandan Bhardwaji, a master in English and master in spirituality. He told me, used to make me understand the English language. He said, disease means dis plus ease. When you are not as ease, so that you put as a doctor, you put them back to ease, that their pain is relieved, they are able to work, their life expectancy increases, their function increases, becomes normal. So this was a fulfillment of life, and I was looking forward to it. And so, although I was not that senior in the seniority list of the percentage of marks who had joined medical college. But my concentration and interest was intense. And so whenever somebody teacher will ask a question, if the whole class will not be answering, sometime I may be answering. Like in physiology, so there was Madam Sharma who asked that you know, like this happened, temperatures happen, patient is not taking well, so orally, and what will the urine like? So the class became silent, and I stood up. She said, okay. I said, the urine will be concentrated. She asked me why. I said, because the kidney is meant to preserve the milieu interior, and it will preserve water. So it will concentrated urine become. It was good. She was happy. And similarly, once in the anatomy in the beginning, they asked that, sagittal section, coronal section, they are difficult words. But I, in the beginning, in the Gray's anatomy, I said, okay, sagittal section, coronal section. Say they asked the anatomy person, I think Dr. S.P. Thapar, and they were Seva Singh Makhani. Seva Singh Makhani asked that, okay, like we cut like this, so which will be the section? The people, the student, they became quiet because they were overconfident. They were not looking into books and not listening properly because they think they are the toppers and all. I was not the toppers in the university. So I had gone through this sagittal section, coronal section, try to imagine. And I said, sir, this will be coronal section. Okay, good, 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 good. So the thing is that in the medical college, which I had studied in a newspaper item, an interview of a student who had come first, a girl student. So not in the medical, before medical, long back in my studies in the eighth or ninth class in my school. And she said that she used to imagine what he used to read. So I had started imagining what I used to read right from that time. Like I was good in science, so I will imagine like, okay, now this hydrochloric acid and this thing zinc becomes, and zinc and hydrogen will go outside, and zinc chloride will form, and these bonds of the hydrochloric acid will, this hydrogen and chlorine bound is weaker, and a stronger bond will be found between zinc and chloride. So it will make the bond, chlorine will shift towards the stronger bond and will free divorce hydrogen, and it will fly away. So I used to do experiments in my lab, making things like that in the overtime. One of Mr. Roda, who was a teacher, who will allow me to do scientific experiments in the chemistry lab because he could judge my interest into that, because I will go to the basis. So like that, I was imagining the anatomy, and imagining the anatomy and physiology on one's own. Like if one is studying that, okay, this is my eye, this is my eye, this is the retina, this is macula, and this is the outer limits, that is the optic nerve, and this is the iris which is contracting and going iris muscle. This is the lens, anterior chamber, posterior chamber, like this, the brain and anything. Then it will become a vision in your mind, and this helped me a lot. So this is all about my first down the memory line. Enough for today. Bye bye. I hope you enjoy. Although I initially thought I'll keep it down to 3 to 5 minutes, but there are emotions involved with the memories. So please don't mind going it a bit lengthy. I will come again with my second episode of Down the Memory Lane. Thank you. Bye bye. Now I'm ending the stream.